Do you believe in the paranormal?
The scariest one would be something that's demonic. That's something that was never human to begin with.
There was this lady with long black hair, never showed her face to anybody.
This is my house now. Could you please leave us alone?
I saw a little kid come down the stairs, stop halfway, and kind of look at me, just out of the corner of my eye. Well, I turn around and look, because I think it's my kid. They were about the same age at the time, so I turn around and look. There's no kid.
Did you guys hear that?
I heard.
Utah is such a haunted place.
Paranormal is the interaction of a spirit or entity or energy that is or once was here. It can be so different for each person individually. Could be more like apparitions, shadow figures, orbs.
Paranormal is, anything that is strange or weird or something out there. Events or things that fall outside of the scope of your normal scientific study.
It's something that is not natural really you don't pick it up normally. So most people may not see it or experience it. It's something kind of beyond the eye a lot of the time. It's also abilities. If someone is clairvoyant or has a vision, but it's also a spirit or an angel.
For me, like in our culture, the spirit world is not referred to as anything extraordinary or supernatural. It's considered the natural. It is what it is. It is life, and it is right here, right now, all around us.
A ley line is an energy line that runs around the earth, and how they really kind of figure it out is there's certain things that have been built over time, like Stonehenge, the pyramids, and other ancient ruins that seem to all line up perfectly along these ley lines. And they believe that people from back in ancient times used that to basically kind of harness the energy. In the realm of hauntings and ghosts, there's actually really 4 levels. First, there's what's called a residual haunt. And what that is when you hear footsteps or you see a ghost and it happens repeatedly and really doesn't interact with anybody. The next level would be an interactive haunting. That's where the ghosts will actually interact with you, or when people go ghost hunting, they will get EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon, where they ask a question and the ghost will answer. The next level would be the poltergeist, which is German for noisy ghost. That's a ghost that has the ability to move things, slam doors, and actually interact with the physical world. And then the last level, which is really the scariest one, would be something that's demonic. That's something that was never human to begin with, an entity that's been around for a long time that wants to do harm to you and your family. They will scratch you. They will, basically try and ruin your home and your life.
I believe, yes, there are negative and evil entities that are around us, but I think the majority of what we think and feel are not evil or want to hurt you or anything like that. I think that a lot of times it's just maybe spirits who are stuck, and they might be feeling stronger emotions and feelings, and that might come across as something that's not as peaceful or as nice as something else might be.
I think it really depends on everybody's own personal belief system. If you've never seen anything or you've never had an experience, why would you believe? You see enough bad press on, different groups out there having been proven fake, or, evidence is fake, or this person's this or that. It just causes you to again question whether or not it's real. But I can assure you that it is.
And a lot of the time we do think we're crazy when we're little and we're seeing things and telling someone they're sick or knowing someone will pass. It's hushed down usually, or you're told, wow, you have a big imagination.
Talk to any child, they can see spirit. They can feel spirit because they haven't been talked out of it yet or conditioned out of it. I have no doubt every single person who's in here or watching this, at some point you saw spirit very clearly.
Started with my daughter. So she was very young, but her favorite TV show was Ghost Adventures. So her 10th birthday, she asked to do a paranormal investigation. So I was like, I got to find a company or see if there's even anything out there that would cover that. And in a random search, I had found a company that includes paranormal investigations. So I was like, well, I guess that's the opportunity. We do like a little class at the beginning teaching you like how to communicate, what you're looking for, how to take pictures, how to use your electronic devices for recording, so you're kind of in that mindset, and that can kind of be scary at first until you kind of acclimate to that. But that's what got us started in it, and then we ended up just going to more investigations, and eventually I just ended up being a part of that group, and that's how I became more familiar with it.
It was 6 years after my grandmother passed. My grandmother was deemed a witch in West Virginia. There are still people to this day that won't step into the graveyard where she's buried. There's only 4 gravestones in her quote-unquote cemetery, and there's people that won't step into that cemetery. And when I was 8, I saw her sitting at the foot of my bed. And ever since then, that's when I truly began to believe in.
One of my first paranormal experiences was I was about 16, and I was watching my grandparents' place. They kind of live out in the middle of nowhere. It's heavily treed, so I'd go out and lock the gates, and I was nervous, so I went down the basement, and I had fallen asleep at some point. I remember waking up and sitting like bolt upright on the couch, and as I did, there was like a coffee table by the couch, and I hit my hand on the corner and cut my hand. But when I sat up, what woke me up was there was this lady, and she was in Victorian garb with the umbrella, which was closed, but she had the hat and the silky Victorian dress. And I remember hearing her voice in my head. Her lips did not move as I was watching her. But she says, "I'm just here to check on you." She goes, "I know that you're a little worried about being here on your own." And she's like, "So I'm just here watching over you." And she told me to lay back down and go back to sleep, in which I did, because I felt like this calmness come over me. And so I laid back down and at some point drifted off. And when I got up in the morning, I thought, there's no way that was real, that I had been dreaming. But I had that cut from where I hit my hand on the coffee table. So I knew there was something more to it. Well, funny thing is about it is my grandma has a Victorian room, and it's down in the basement, but it's across the way. It's a little ways away from where I was. And she has a mannequin in there. And the dress that's on her mannequin, which she got at an old antique shop, was the dress that this woman was wearing.
So mine was about the same time, 16, 17 years old. I was working at this little sub shop over in East Grand Forks, and it was by the railroad tracks. Like, it used to be a restaurant, and I had some guy come in, and I was taking his order, and all of a sudden my ears kind of like got that static sound, like you're tuning a TV or a radio, and I couldn't hear him anymore. But what I could hear was clinking of glasses, people talking. It was full on restaurant. And I was like, whoa, that was kind of weird. And I watched the guy's face. He had no expression on his face. He was just talking away, giving me his order. I was like, oh, you didn't hear it.
I'm documenting activity and things in the paranormal world. And what's great about what I feel like I do is it gives some people who don't feel comfortable in other aspects the opportunity to share their story. I grew up in a home in northern Utah that was built in 1883. It was an old farmhouse originally. And when I was growing up in it, Gen X or so, it was in the 80s, it was very paranormally active. So as a kid, I was having a lot of interactions and a lot of experiences, but my parents didn't like us to share our stories. I have an older sister and younger brother, because they were afraid of what people would think of us if we were running around saying our house was haunted. So I really dove in to learn everything I could about the paranormal. It got me very interested in the paranormal because of what was happening to me. And by the time I was a teenager, my friends were having experiences in my house. And I had to admit to my friends, oh yeah, I grew up in a haunted house. And then before long, they were having me tell stories at double dates or parties. And what happened was there were people that would hear the stories, and there were the group that always scoffed, and then there was those that were kind of quiet. And then I found the ones that were kind of quiet would come to me later alone and say, oh man, I had this experience. And they felt comfortable sharing it with me because I'd also had experiences. And it just kind of blossomed into the fact that, I started collecting stories, writing them down and getting these stories from people, and then eventually hunting down stories and getting them all first person. Utah is such a haunted place. I don't even know where I would necessarily start with the Whittier Center or Bigelow. There's so many places in Utah that is haunted.
What we're in right now is part of the original build where the Bigelow family lived. It was a very high-end hotel, especially up until the 80s. The heyday of this place was through 1920s Prohibition era. Al Capone is quoted as saying that Utah was too rough and tumble for him even during that time. And the tunnels that run underneath here were bootlegging tunnels. There's a few rooms down in the basement that were bank vaults for a long time. There was a woman who stabbed a bellhop in the neck. They say that he messes with it still. One of the shaft that it was, specifically between floors 5 and 6, shakes. I do know that the elevator that the man was killed in, those mirrors in there are tested and rated for falling elevators, and when we replace the mechanisms in the elevator, like the whole cable and motor and everything is completely new. But when they did the first drop test, those mirrors flew off the wall and broke. People complain about that elevator. That's the most common. It's a weird elevator.
The story of the mother who passed in 1102, her son later came to collect her things. She was staying here kind of long term. Came to collect her things, was staying in 1101. Some people say, the depression really got to him. Some others say that his mother was haunting him and he ended up passing away. I think the most I've really noticed in the elevators, besides it taking you to random floors, is the smell. There's definitely sometimes a very, very strong smell in there, very kind of clean floral type smell. And after I first started working here and I just started noticing that, I did some research, I looked up some stories, found out that there's a story of a woman who haunts the elevators, and she's known for her very strong perfume scent. when it gets closer to Halloween time, the elevators start kind of glitching a little more than usual. There's those two. A really interesting one, though, that not a lot of people know, and the only reason I know this is I had an older couple come in. They thought we were still a hotel, and she said that when she was 19, she used to be one of the elevator workers when it was a hotel, you know, back when you had a designated person to take you up and down. She said a guy she'd never seen before got in, asked to go up to the 9th floor. Okay, so she took him up to the 9th floor. About 15-20 minutes later, she gets called to the 9th floor, takes him back down. On the way back down, he just doesn't look at her. He just kind of tells her, like, you need to call the cops, there's a woman dying up there.
There was always this old man in the elevator wearing a very old-time suit, and my boyfriend at the time never saw him, so he never believed me. And then when I had my brother come stay with us, because I was just too scared of everything, he saw the man and he was like, I tried to touch him, he wasn't there. But he seemed to always be on the left side of the elevator, only at night when it was acting all funny and just would keep going up and down all by itself and stopping at all the floors.
I've had multiple experiences here. Probably my scariest experience was the elevator. I remember being in the elevator, and I don't remember what floor we were staying on at the time, but I remember going all the way down to the ground level. I remember the doors opening, they wouldn't close. I remember hearing footsteps, and it sounded like they kept getting closer. I think I closed my eyes. The doors ended up closing, took me back to the very top floor, did the same thing. I remember just running back out, going back to my dad, telling him, you know, I don't want to go back in the elevator. And my dad has since passed, but I always remember him telling me a very profound story in the elevator. I don't know if they still have the infinity mirrors that go back and forth. I remember him saying he had seen a person standing there with him, but it wasn't in each reflection, it was just in one of the reflections back, and he seen it walk past. He got really freaked out, and my dad was really into paranormal stuff, so he didn't get freaked out often, but I remember him getting really freaked out by that certain situation.
I used to work here 92 and 93 when I was in high school. I worked catering, so I mostly worked kind of in the banquet rooms. I would come in after school, work till 10, 11, sometimes during crazy, party seasons. I'd work till like 3, 4 in the morning, sometimes 5. So yeah, back when it was the Radisson. I did have one here on the banquet floor where it was late, probably 10:30, 11 o'clock. And those rooms over there, you have access into the kitchen, the banquet kitchen. And I was there cleaning up the kitchen, and I saw someone walk down the hall kind of towards the stairs. And I went to, kind of intercept them, see if they were lost, but they were kind of dressed kind of old-fashioned-y. They had like one of the 30s hats, and they had just disappeared. So the basement, the room when I worked here, that was a banquet room. That's also the room that has the door. You can only go about 3-4 feet into the tunnels, then it's bricked off. But another room I hated, always felt like I was being watched, always felt like I wasn't alone. Hated working in that room. But years later, I was listening to Ghost Hunters on a Halloween radio program, and they were down in that room, and they were playing some EVPs, and one of the Ghost Hunters says, "I'm gonna go see what's upstairs," and the EVP goes, "We're all down here."
Have you guys heard of the location that we're going to today?
Well, I've investigated it 4 times. This will
Never.
be 5.
This will be our
they haven't
first.
been there.
We've never been there. Have we heard of it? Yeah.
There is a young child there named David, and he'll come through every time we've been there. In the dressing room, there is a rumor. There was a janitorial type person that was inappropriately touching dancers in the dressing room. Kids have told the people there that they felt like something had touched them, and they smelled things like chemicals and thought it was a janitorial type person. But if you go in there and try in that dressing room, it is nothing but negative answers. You will not get anything negative in that building outside of that girl's dressing room.
If I take a group with me and I go to say a specific location, it's better to take at least a couple of them with you, so that you feel like you're kind of protected as a group, right? So the first thing I do is just have the group focus on what they're not going to do next. I want them to think about where they are. I want them to think about what has maybe happened on the grounds that we're on. A lot of it is, because a lot of the areas that we go to are kind of proven areas, and so there is a lot of history based on that, and a lot of times I will talk about that. I will talk about who has been there, what has taken place on these grounds before, and then you want to ask them to kind of tune into who or how you might feel interacting with someone, how they might feel at the time that they were there.
Yeah, so REM pod, in case anybody doesn't know, it puts off static energy. It'll change the color of the lights. The closer you get, the more static energy you're breaking. Because their VHF do break the static field in REM pods and will set them off. The closer you are to it, the stronger the signal it'll boost.
Oh, it's going off again?
Can you step away? Thank you.
Live listening is when you're having like a digital recorder or some kind of recording device, and you're using headphones to listen live as it's recording. The mic sensitivity on a recording device is much higher than our ear can hear, and so you'll pick up different frequencies, and that will allow us to hear EVPs because they're usually pretty low. And now if you're live listening, you can hear them.
Sure.
I didn't hear that.
Did you hear it?
So the bad man still up in the changing room.
Okay. Now that is a clear EVP.
That's clear.
And it's straight up. And remember, guys, that's out there. That wasn't in here.
That's crazy.
Did you guys hear that?
I heard that. What was
It has more than one word.
Did the bad man work here as a janitor when it was a school?
It's can't tell.
Can't tell.
Can't tell? It is can't tell.
It's so-
This device is called a portal. So essentially, this is 3 devices in one. This has a 5,000 word dictionary built in. It also sweeps radio stations, and it uses a telephone app all at the same time. So what that means is it's got positives and negatives. And I have communication crystals on top. This is a guitar amplifier. The theory is the spirits can use one of the devices that's inside of here to communicate. So we will give this a shot and see what we do. Move this away from the camera, otherwise we'll do it hear us. Hello? Come up where? Are you trying to get us up to the dressing room? Yeah. Perfect. Something over here is telling us to keep our distance from that room upstairs.
This is called an SB7. This is the Pro version, but it doesn't matter. They both kind of do the same thing, but this one just has other features that we won't be using for this. Basically, this sweeps through radio. This is the one you've heard on TV that goes. Once this is sweeping, she's going to have the headphones on. She's not going to be able to see us. She's not going to be able to hear us. Nothing. We're going to ask questions. She's going to spit out anything she hears.
We are here to talk with
David?
Someone's coming.
Yeah, I heard that.
Pray.
Yep, I heard that. Who needs to pray? Why should we pray? I stand by.
I am God.
Oh, is it I am God? Exactly.
Why do you hang out in this room?
I meant something about a shower.
Do you like watching the girls change in this room? Is that why you're here?
Usually.
Oh, you're disgusting.
I would say that there is a certain level of, deep respect that needs to happen, and that should take place, as if you're speaking to another human being or interacting with another person.
Hi, David.
Hello, David.
And you want to try and tune into what they're doing, and you want to ask them questions based upon what they might have been doing at that time.
You didn't what?
Something about a young child.
You ask a question and you wait 10 to 20 seconds.
How many people are in the room?
I think it did say something.
That's how many.
Can you say the name of one of the people in this room?
That sounds like Jackie.
Yeah.
What's my name?
Steve.
You have to kind of take control over what you're communicating with and what you're inviting and what you're allowing to have happen around you as well.
All right, David, we're going to move upstairs and try and talk to the bad man. Bold. Should we go up there?
No.
Should we be afraid? Do you have anything to tell us? God damn.
It's really important to really make sure that you protect yourself. At the end of the night, you're not allowed to follow me home. You must stay here. Goodbye.
Stay here. You have to stay here. Absolutely not. I'm not allowing you to follow me. You have to stay here.
You have to stay here. It was nice meeting you guys, but I have to head out, so you have to stay here.
I'm done talking with you. Thank you for your time. It's important that you're showing a respect.
Thank you for talking to us, though.
Yeah, thank you for talking.
That was really nice.